All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Fear the Walking Dead video for today. The first Q&A that we're going to do for this week for Fear after viewer responses from episode 11, Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. A lot of fans just simply giving up. They had enough of Fear. Okay, and spoiler warning if you were not caught up on Fear the Walking Dead yet. So we did our review for Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 11, and our predictions for what we think is going to happen in Episode 12. And it looks like Episode 12 will be maybe somewhere along the lines of the same kind of deal as Episode 11, or maybe even less or so. We'll see. We're going to get to see the convoy again and see what has been going on with them during this time, as you have Morgan and Althea over one spot. You have Strand, Alicia, and I guess Wes, if you want to count him, somewhere in a different spot after going around kind of looking at the trees. So with this one, fans giving up on Fear the Walking Dead. A lot of people said the same thing, that they're giving up. They're giving up on it. They don't know what else to do. So here's what I want to say. All right, so the thing is that every year with Fear, this is the same kind of deal, okay? This is not a new thing. Many people have wanted to give up on Fear many times, probably even dating back to the second season or the third season, when we got the understanding, sort of, that Fear the Walking Dead was never going to get the same resources, I think, for budget and things like this as the original Walking Dead series has. And as far as I've seen, I'm pretty certain it's not anywhere comparable to what they get to do the original Walking Dead series. So as such, there's going to be some episodes throughout the seasons. Of course, your mid-season premieres and mid-season finale and season premieres and season finale are usually going to be pretty big episodes, and they're going to do some kind of epic stuff, whether it be a plane crash or a plane landing, nuclear meltdown, stuff like this. You're going to have some episodes in the middle that people are going to call filler episodes. So with the difference is this, I think. The Walking Dead has some episodes that are like filler type episodes, like Still, or you have the one with Tara and Heath, where they go, near Oceanside there, and then they get kind of split up, and Heath goes missing, never to be seen again. Swear, going off memory here, I think that's what it's called. So you have some episodes there like that, and people kind of complain. But when Fear has episodes like that, I think it's because the budget is lower, so you have different people working on it that maybe haven't worked on many episodes of Walking Dead before, or maybe they're used to directing other things. You're not able to do as much, like some of the zombies are CG, this kind of thing, and they don't maybe look quite as good as Greg Nicotero's zombies from the original Walking Dead series. And I think they use CG for both series, like all the time, for zombie kills and stuff like that. But in Fear, I think sometimes they use CG for pretty much the entire zombie, like the whole thing. And so a lot of people after episode 11 just not really happy with what's going on. So this is not a new thing. It happens all the time when Fear has kind of filler type episodes or slow episodes like that. People get really up in arms. But episode 11 is one that is a pretty hated episode right now. It might be the weakest episode of the season, just because, which was, last night's or tonight's episode, depending on when you're watching this. It might be it probably is the weakest episode of the season, I'd say, for a lot of people, in just that it was just such a strange episode, and it was just like the motivations were very questionable, I think, at best, and it just was very weird. It doesn't seem like people like Wes all that much so far from what we've heard of him, and they feel like what I said in the review, which is that maybe the Fear group is going a little bit overboard with the trying to help people, and to the point of it getting a little bit kind of silly. So here's the deal. There are people that are really, really enjoying Fear the Walking Dead and have loved the season. I will tell you guys straight away, I really enjoyed the first half of the season. It really, really appealed to me with the plane crash and then the plane landing afterwards, them not killing off any major characters right now. For me, that was just what I needed for the first half of the season. I love the first half of the season of Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. That's my opinion. Not everybody did. A lot of people did not like it. But so there's people that, some things are going to appeal to them and some things are not going to. To some people, characters like Sarah and Jimbo and the sillier kind of characters like this that they've kind of brought in season 4 and onward, really season 4's second half and onward, I want to say, because the first half of season 4 and prior with Dave Erickson, of course, they didn't use that silly kind of angle as much. What I call the ZNation type of angle, where you kind of have, a hot air balloon, beer bottles, and stuff like this. I don't know. It's a bit tricky. And so for some people, they like that, and they're enjoying these types of episodes like that, where you get kind of the more silliness. It's very weird, though, in episode 11 when you try to mix in kind of a more serious character like I almost called him Heath, Wes, with, kind of the silly stuff too. Like you have both, right? And then Logan and kind of his motivations, and so it kind of runs the risk of when it's not taking itself seriously enough, it kind of runs the risk of pure entertainment, and people say, why bother watching it, right? And I think that's kind of where we're getting into the territory right now, is where it's getting into that it's going too far towards the ZNation angle, where it's getting too far into the entertainment kind of silliness aspect of it, and it's going away from taking itself realistically enough and seriously enough to where people can take it seriously. And if people don't take it seriously and it's too unrealistic and too kind of silly too often, then it sort of has a weird vibe to it. And people are like, I'm not sure if the show knows what it is. Is it a Walking Dead property, which is generally original Walking Dead is more serious? There's almost no parts of The Walking Dead that are really kind of silly like that. And even when there are, they're so rare. Like, for example, Jesus being chased by Daryl and Rick in that episode of season, is it 6? Or is it, I don't even remember. It's not 5. 6. Season 6 at some point. You guys remember that sillier episode? That was like an 11 or 10 or 12, something like that. One of those type of episodes of a season where it was kind of sillier and, that kind of thing. But when they do it, it's so rare that it's like, okay, it's okay because it's a break from the norm and the regular. Whereas Fear the Walking Dead might be going too much into that. So Stephanie Kent said, I give up on this show. And Damien said, I give up on Fear. After this episode, Aquilix says, trying my best to enjoy this second half. Last week's episode was far superior, in my opinion. This one felt so disjointed and pointless, and this West character is just a waste of screen time, to be honest. Next week's episode looks like an absolute bore fest. Can't wait. So here's the other problem, too, I think, that's coming in more and more each year. Netflix is sort of taken over more and more and more. People are binge watching more shows. They're kind of forcing the game to be upped. When people are tuning in to watch something like Fear, if they don't have AMC Premiere and they're watching it at the regular time slot with commercials and all that, the thing about it is that when you're doing that, you're kind of making it your Sunday night. So you're watching at a certain time, you're watching commercials, you're doing your stuff. It kind of has to be comparatively higher quality to your bingeable shows. Otherwise, people are just going to say, well, why would I bother following their schedule? I can just, watch, some other series and watch the whole thing through if I want to, or if I don't feel like watching now, I'll watch it later, do what I want when I want to. If you're doing it on kind of a programming set schedule, unless they have DVR or something like this, which a lot of people still don't, a lot of people don't have that. You're kind of locking it into watching a certain time on Sunday night. So people are kind of giving up their Sunday nights to watch your show. So it has to be pretty good, comparatively versus, the other options that are out there. And there's so many out there now that it's crazy, right? So a lot of entertainment out there to be watched. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well, too, that if people are going to tune in to watch Fear on a Sunday night, dedicate that solid hour with the commercials and everything to watching it, then they're going to want to see something that is usually of higher quality than something they can binge watch, right? And if it isn't, then there's kind of no point. So that's where it is. So I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings in these type of videos either. I don't want to come in and say everyone should hate Fear and whatever, and it's crap, whatever, and no one should ever watch it, whatever. I don't want to come in and say that because I know there's people who really enjoy it. And like I said, I really enjoyed the first half of the season, and that's not a lie. That's honest. But again, that appealed to me, and different people have different tastes. Maybe for some people, the more kind of comedic, kind of silly universe appeals to them. ZNation, for example, which I just have to bring it up, it had its own audience. It had an audience where it wasn't taking itself so seriously. It wasn't like that. But then again, it wasn't a Walking Dead property. It didn't have The Walking Dead in its title. So that's where, they could kind of do that, their own thing. They didn't have to worry about it being, trying to be like something else. Whereas with Fear, it does have The Walking Dead's title, so it's still supposed to be the same universe. But certainly when you watch the episodes through and you compare it to the way people behave in the original Walking Dead to how they behave in Fear, it's quite a bit different, and it doesn't right now feel like the same universe to me. It doesn't have the same feel. Even the intro and stuff like that kind of adds to it as well too, which is, it's okay if they're going to do their own thing as long as it's good enough to satisfy most of the audience. And from the sounds of things, from what I'm hearing, it's not really. But again, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want people who really liked it to say whatever. But I would say that, in my opinion anyway, as well as Aquilix, it's probably the weakest episode so far of the season, or at least of this half, I think. People were saying the episode before, which was with the mall, was actually better. And I kind of have to agree because I didn't really like Wes that much in this episode. I don't know. The manuscript thing for me was like, what? Like, what's going on here? This is, again, the silliness a little bit too far, but it's supposed to be serious too because he just killed this guy. So it's like, you just killed this guy, but now it's kind of silly. It's like, it doesn't really, I don't know. It just doesn't really work. Kill Streak 25 said, pretty boring and terrible direction. I mean, overall, there's no direction at all in the show. I have no idea how it got renewed for season 6. They desperately really need to start picking up the pace. So, pacing issue for him in this episode in season 6. So it did get renewed for a season 6. Now that the Walking Dead comic book series is over as well too, I do see kind of there being less interest in the Walking Dead TV show properties versus before when the comic was running, which is very strange to me. But again, we've done a lot of videos on that, and I do think the comics have had an impact on the TV series appeal, or at least the fan base, with regards to the TV series universes. So, season 7, I'll predict, I think Fear will get a season 7, but then past that, season 8, 9, or 10, I'm not sure. Maybe 7 or 8, but then again, it's AMC's second highest rated series, so AMC Premiere is connected to it. So, maybe it will continue on for several more years. Maybe it will get 8 or 9, and then maybe 10, somewhere around there might be the end of it in a few years, but we got to keep in mind we're still in season 5, so 6 is renewed, 7 probably, 8, maybe 9, then 10. That's pretty long, man. The original Walking Dead is season 10. In 4 years or so, I don't think so, but maybe a few more years, maybe a couple to a few more years. I think AMC will probably run it for at least. Tyler Jackson says, I hate that they dragged Morgan and Dwight over into the show. They deserve better. So do the other actors. So they do have a lot of good things going for them too with regards to some of the people they have in the series. Morgan is a top rated, Walking Dead character. So is, I would say, Dwight to some degree. And then some of the old school Fear ones are. Alicia definitely is. I put her in the same level as Morgan. Strand as well, too, close to like a Dwight type of level, or maybe higher, because he was in the first season of that, and, he's been in the series a long time, and he's been a, supporter for Madison and the others. So, but the thing is, you got to understand for Tyler, if they didn't bring Morgan into Fear the Walking Dead, it sounds like Lenny James was disappointed with the amount of time he was getting the original Walking Dead series. So if they did not cross him over into Fear, he probably would have been killed off. Morgan likely would have been killed off in the original Walking Dead, probably in season 9 or in season maybe like after 8 had ended, because it sounds like, based on what Lenny James said, he had a discussion with Scott Gimple. He said, don't ever do what he did in season 7 to him again, where he got hardly any time or that kind of thing, because he wanted to get more time, and he can go do other shows, and he's very talented and everything, obviously, so he can get more work if he wants to. So it was a win-win for everybody. Morgan crossed over into Fear. Lenny James got more work, which is what he wanted, and we got to keep Morgan. Morgan didn't have to be killed off. So, it ended up being good. It would have, ideally, if he could have stayed in the original Walking Dead and could be part of the lead in that now that Rick's gone, that would be cool too. But at least in this way, he wasn't killed off, because that would have been the worst case scenario, I think, if Morgan was just killed off in season, 8 or 9 or something. Because that likely could have happened if Lenny James wanted out, and they might have maybe had to write him out so he could go do other series. So there's good, there's positives to it as well too. In this way with Fear, it adds another 16 episodes a year. But for Walking Dead and for some of the people who are in Walking Dead, Dwight and Morgan, to cross over and get work there, so it's not all bad. And Dwight as well too. We don't know if he might just be off screen permanently if it wasn't for Fear. Maybe he would just never return, or return with the Whispers or something like that, and then eventually be killed off there or something. So I don't know. Michael Dilly says, Trev, you're allowed to say ZNation. Well, some people, I will say ZNation. I'm going to have to, right? I'm going to have to, because the current story right now, and especially episode 12 coming up, that is, these are like ZNation episodes. These are halfway between what Fear was and halfway between ZNation. It's just, that's what it is. If you guys watch ZNation, you'll be like, yeah, Trev, I get what you're saying, because that's what it feels like. It feels like half and half, and maybe even sometimes goes a little bit more towards ZNation than it is even the original Walking Dead. Like this episode coming up feels like that in a lot of ways. Jack Over said, what the hell is going on? It has no real direction. The Alicia PTSD stuff is just off. and the helper storyline has run its welcome. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true that the helping people storyline has kind of run out of steam a little bit, or that they're just taking a little bit too far with certain people that they can't help, and it's getting a little bit kind of silly. But they did kind of talk about in the mid-season finale that they're going to start living too, except they haven't really done that yet, and they're not sure exactly how to do that either. MK Psyop says, you're still here? Are the writers trying to tell us something? They know the show sucks too. I mean, they have to. I don't think they think it sucks. I would think that they're trying their best to do what they can do. There are two of them, so for showrunners, so that's something. Which is, different from just having Dave Erickson by himself, right? So, man, I mean, it's like universe trying to tell us something, you're still here. I guess it's a good thing Fear's still on. That's good. At least it gives us something, even if, certain episodes might be a little bit weak, or people are like, oh, that wasn't, what I expect for Walking Dead type standards. Edward Covington says, Trev, don't you think if all the villains acted like Walking Dead villains, wouldn't everyone complain about that? I mean, I'm not taking up for the show, but they're trying to be different. Well, they are different. They certainly are different, and I guess we wouldn't want it to be too much like the original Walking Dead series, but I guess for the Goldilocks zone, you don't want to be too far away from it either, because it is still supposed to be a Walking Dead property. So somewhere in the middle, and maybe they're going a little bit too far towards the silliness side of things, or just that that's the way they do things, and it's going to be different, and it is different, and we just have to kind of get used to it. So that'll be it for the first Q&A for this week, guys. I want to do another one this week, a possible relationship between Wes and Alicia, but I don't know if we want to lead with that one. Leave any other Q&A questions that you guys have in the comments below, and let me know what you think about that one, and we can kind of go over that one tomorrow maybe, or another day this week, depending on what you guys want to talk about. So that's it with what's going on right now for Fear. Let me know how you guys are feeling about it, and if every episode was like that, episode 11, would you still be interested in watching? And I don't know, man, just like where you guys at with this one. I'm kind of I feel lost this time. Like, I don't know if I hate this or I like this, or I don't know what I should say as far as my opinion goes. I mean, I do like Fear, but at the same time, I don't know. It's just like, I guess you're going to get some Still-esque type of episodes in it. It's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know if there's any way to avoid that 100%. It's just what it is. Anyway, if you like the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and subscribe at the bottom left if you're new. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.